All right, so if you're ready to dive deep into the world of AI and you've got Borges on your reading list, get ready to have your mind blown.
This is going to be a good one.
It really is, because we are diving into the connections between AI literature and what it even means for something to be true.
It's a fascinating topic.
It is, and this paper we're looking at today really gets into it.
I think my favorite part is how it approaches artificial intelligence from a literary standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
With Borges as our guide, no less.
Using Borges as a lens through which to view AI.
Precisely.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
So the paper argues that large language models, these AI systems that everyone's talking about,
Right.
are essentially like fiction machines.
Okay.
They don't see truth the way we do, but they can weave a narrative like nobody's business.
And what I find so fascinating about that is that LLMs, large language models, they haven't lived like us.
Okay.
They don't draw their truth from, years of experience. Instead, they draw it from spotting patterns and connections within massive data sets of text and code.
Oh, so code is involved too.
Yes.
It's both.
I thought it was just language.
LLMs are trained on massive amounts of text and code.
Interesting.
It's like they've devoured every book in the library and then peeked behind the curtain to see how the universe is coded.
Okay, now my brain is officially starting to hurt, but in a good way.
It is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're analyzing mountains of information and finding these hidden connections.
Yes.
And it's from this data that they learn to generate text that feels incredibly real.
It's almost like how Borges plays with reality in his stories.
Yes.
Blurring the lines between what's real and what's imagined.
Precisely. And the paper even goes as far as describing a perfect language model. A hypothetical machine with access to every piece of text ever written and every text yet to be written.
Wow.
Like a cosmic library of infinite stories.
Okay, now that is a lot to unpack.
It is a lot to unpack.
Can you give me a real-world example, something I can actually wrap my head around?
Sure. So imagine something like GPT-3,
Okay.
which is a powerful LLM that's out in the wild right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already generating human quality text.
Really?
In response to all sorts of prompts, everything from poems to code to scripts.
Wow, okay, so I'm starting to get a clearer picture here.
Good.
So if this perfect language model is like a massive library, how does it actually choose which story to tell?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes like this. So the model starts with a few words, and then based on the information it's been trained on, it randomly selects the next word in the sequence. And with each word, it's essentially choosing a path, navigating through this infinite library of possibilities.
So it's like a supercharged version of predictive text on our phones.
Yes, exactly.
But on a much, much grander scale.
Yes, much grander scale, but with a twist.
Okay, what's the twist?
This idea of branching paths of infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
This is a recurring theme in Borges' work.
Okay.
And it helps us to visualize the complex processes these LLMs are engaging in.
So we're talking about AI, but we're also talking about something deeply human.
Yeah.
The power of storytelling.
And not just storytelling, but the very nature of truth itself.
Well, okay.
Because if LLMs are so good at creating believable narratives, even if they're not technically true,
Right.
it makes you wonder, are we more susceptible to a good story than we think?
That's a great question.
And what happens when those stories are being spun by machines?
Whoa, that is a question we're going to have to dive deeper into.
Oh.
Okay, so we've got these LLMs, these master storytellers, pulling from this infinite well of information. Yeah. But where do we fit into all of this as humans? I mean...
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Humans, we crave, meaning we look for validation everywhere.
Oh, tell me about it.
Even from machines.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I swear people will get emotionally attached to their toasters if you let them.
It's true.
So how does this play out with LLMs? Are we treating them like all-knowing oracles or something?
In a way, yes, and because LLMs are designed to sound so human, so natural, it's easy to forget that they're not actually understanding the information they're spitting out.
Right.
They're just really, really good at mimicking it.
And that's where we can get into trouble, right?
Yeah.
We'll start mistaking this artificial intelligence for actual wisdom, for genuine insight.
Exactly. And the paper calls this the allure of vindication.
Vindication, okay.
We ask a question, and the LLM, based on its programming, can provide an answer that feels satisfying, confirming, even if it's not entirely accurate or based in reality.
So it's like those librarians in Borges' The Library of Babel, surrounded by an infinite library. They spend their lives searching for meaning in what are essentially just random arrangements of letters.
What a brilliant connection.
Right.
It highlights how easily we can get caught up searching for meaning, for confirmation, even when it might be staring us right in the face, or in this case, generated by a machine.
Okay, so are we saying that every interaction with an LLM is just an exercise in futility? Are we all just chasing shadows in a digital library?
Not necessarily, but it's crucial to remember that LLMs, as they currently exist, are tools.
Okay.
They can provide information, spark our creativity, and even challenge our assumptions. But we need to be mindful of our own biases, our human tendency to seek meaning and validation, especially when it comes from something as seemingly authoritative as an AI.
Okay, so awareness is key.
Yeah,
We can't just blindly accept everything an LLM tells us is gospel.
right.
But are there safeguards in place? I mean, what's stopping these LLMs from going off the rails entirely? Who's keeping them in check?
Well, that's where the concept of the purifiers comes in.
The purifiers, who are they?
Those who, for various reasons, want to control or restrict what LLMs can and cannot say.
Interesting. So who are these purifiers and what are their motivations? Are we talking about digital librarians here carefully curating the shelves of the infinite library? Digital librarians, that's a pretty good analogy, actually.
Yeah.
Some purifiers are driven by a desire to, prevent the spread of harmful content like hate speech or misinformation.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Right. And remember how we were talking about LLMs being trained on these massive data sets of human knowledge? Well,
Right.
that includes the good, the bad, and the ugly of human expression.
Sure.
So it's like this vast digital library of Babel containing, both profound insights and potentially dangerous ideas.
So it's like trying to filter out all the potentially harmful books from this infinite library. That sounds like a monumental task. How do they even begin to do that?
It is, and it's a bit like playing a never-ending game of digital whack-a-mole.
Okay.
Some try to control the LLM's output by, carefully curating the data it's trained on.
Right.
It's like giving the LLM a crash course in ethics,
Yeah.
but it's incredibly difficult to predict every possible way that a user might interact with the model.
So there are always workarounds.
Yeah, the paper gives this fascinating example where someone was trying to get an LLM to provide information that could be used for illegal activities.
Okay.
Think, advice on how to pick a lock.
Right.
But the LLM had been trained to avoid giving out that kind of information.
Yeah.
So what did they do?
What do they do?
They got creative.
Okay.
They rephrased the question, pretending to be a character in a story who needed to pick a lock.
Oh, interesting.
By framing it within a fictional narrative, they were able to bypass the LLM's restrictions.
So they trick the AI with a story.
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty clever.
Which brings us back to this fascinating intersection of technology and storytelling.
Wow.
Like, Borges kind of anticipated all of this in his work.
It's true. We were talking about his story, The Garden of Forking Paths, where every possibility exists simultaneously.
Right.
These LLMs, in a way, are kind of like that garden.
They are.
Every question, every prompt is like a path branching out into infinite possibilities. And while the purifiers might try to, prune the garden,
Yes.
there will always be those who find a way to explore its hidden corners.
Exactly. And that's the beauty and the danger of these technologies.
Right.
They have the potential to be incredibly beneficial, to help us learn and grow and create in ways we never thought possible.
Right.
But they also have the potential to be misused,
Sure.
to spread misinformation, or even to be used for, harmful purposes.
So where does that leave us? What's the takeaway for someone who's just starting to explore this whole world of AI, of LLMs, of Borgesian libraries and forking paths?
I think the most important thing is to be aware.
Okay.
To understand that these technologies, while powerful, are still just tools. They reflect both the best and the worst of humanity.
All right.
And it's up to us to use them responsibly and critically.
Okay.
Like any good story, we need to be aware of the storyteller, the motivations and the potential for both truth and fabrication. We need to be active participants in the narratives that we are consuming and creating, even when those narratives are being shaped by artificial intelligence.
And perhaps most importantly, we need to remember the enduring power of our own human stories,
Yes.
our own creativity, and our own ability to make sense of the world around us. Because in the end, it's those human stories that give meaning to the data, that breathe life into the algorithms, and that will ultimately shape the future of our relationship with artificial intelligence.
Well said.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive.
It has.
It really has. It's a whole new world of storytelling, one where the lines between human and machine are becoming increasingly blurred.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is. It's a bit daunting,
Sure.
a bit exciting, and more than a little bit Borgesian.
It's